Have you ever worked for a boss who stripped away every little thing that made work bearable, leaving you feeling utterly used and worthless? I mean, the kind of boss who nickels and dimes your very soul? Let me tell you about Mr. Thorne, the man who redefined toxic and then some. This isn't just a story about a bad manager. It's a saga of how one man's relentless greed and control turned a vibrant workplace into a barren landscape of despair. You'll hear about the little perks he snatched away, the big demands he made, and how he pushed us all to the brink until one day something had to give. This is the story of how a greedy boss took everything and the unseen cost that absolutely shocked us all. My name's Alex, and my journey into the heart of corporate darkness began in late 2022. I had just landed a project manager role at Catalyst Innovations, a mid-sized tech company known for its modern approach and, crucially, its amazing employee perks. Or, at least, that's what I thought. On my first day, the office hummed with a light, friendly energy. Sunlight streamed through huge windows, reflecting off sleek, open-plan desks. There were ergonomic chairs, a fully stocked kitchen with gourmet coffee, sparkling water, and fresh fruit, and even a small dedicated wellness room for quiet breaks. It felt like I'd hit the jackpot. People smiled, chatted, and genuinely seemed happy to be there. Sarah, a senior project coordinator with kind eyes and a knowing smile, showed me around. "It's a pretty sweet deal here," she'd said, gesturing to the coffee machine. "Mr. Donovan, our CEO, really believes in keeping us happy and productive. Little things make a big difference, right?" I nodded, buzzing with excitement. I'd come from a place where even getting a working pen was a breath of fresh air. My heart swelled with hope for a new chapter. But that was just the beginning of the illusion. Within 3 months, Mr. Donovan, a kind, visionary leader, announced his retirement. We were sad to see him go, but confident in the company's future. Then came Mr. Thorne, Elias Thorne. The name itself felt sharp, angular. He arrived in March 2023, a man in a perpetually tailored charcoal suit, with eyes that scanned the room like a hawk looking for prey. He didn't shake hands. He barely made eye contact. His first company-wide email was short, formal, and chillingly devoid of the usual looking forward to working with you pleasantries. It simply stated his vision: optimizing efficiency and maximizing shareholder value. Buzzwords that, in my gut, sounded like bad news. I remember seeing Sarah's face drain of color when she read it. "Uh-oh," she mumbled, crumpling the printout. "That's not Donovan speak." And she was right. The first optimization hit us like a cold splash of water. Thorne's official memo announced, effective immediately, the company's generous complimentary snack and beverage program will be discontinued. Employees are encouraged to bring their own refreshments. The fancy coffee machine, the fresh fruit, the sparkling water, all gone. Poof, just like that. The wellness room was repurposed into a focus pod, essentially a glorified storage closet for old documents. It wasn't about the money for us, not really. It was about the gesture. The snacks were a small thing, but they represented a culture of care, a little acknowledgement that our comfort mattered. Suddenly, the kitchen felt stark, empty. The silence that followed Thorne's email was deafening. You could feel the collective sigh in the office, a wave of disappointment washing over us. "He's really gonna nickel and dime us, isn't he?" Mark, a young developer on my team, muttered, shaking his head as he stared at the now empty fruit bowl. "What's next? Are we bringing our own toilet paper?" We all laughed, but it was the nervous, bitter kind of laughter that tastes like ash. My heart sank. This wasn't the Catalyst Innovations I'd signed up for. This was a new era, and it smelled distinctly like a cost-cutting axe. The snack purge was just the appetizer. The real meal of misery was served in the following months, each dish more unappetizing than the last. Thorne's cost-cutting wasn't just about company perks. It was about squeezing every drop of productivity, every minute of our lives for the lowest possible cost. His philosophy was simple. Employees were a resource to be optimized, not people to be valued. One of his first major moves after the snack situation was the implementation of a new efficiency monitoring protocol. This beauty involved new software installed on our computers that tracked active time, keystrokes, and even website visits. Forget a quick check on the news or a personal email. Every click was logged. There were daily reports sent to team leads, then consolidated for Thorn. My internal monologue became a constant stream of self-correction. Is this keystroke productive? Is this email essential? Don't even think about opening that tab. The office, once alive with quiet chatter and the occasional laugh, became eerily silent, punctuated only by the click-clack of keyboards. Sarah confided in me during a quick, hushed break in the hallway. "It's like Big Brother is watching," she whispered, glancing nervously over her shoulder. "I feel like I need permission to breathe." I knew exactly what she meant. My shoulders were constantly tense, a knot forming in my stomach every time I heard Thorn's distinct, measured footsteps nearing my desk. The freedom, the trust, the very air of autonomy had been sucked right out of the room. It felt less like a workplace and more like a high-stakes, involuntary game of don't get caught. Then came the optimized schedule realignment in late spring. This was Thorn's genius idea to get more work out of fewer people. He merged several roles and then, without any warning, informed us that our department would be taking on the workload of another department that had recently been downsized. Cross-functional efficiency, he called it, with a smirk that felt like a slap. My team, already stretched thin, was suddenly drowning. Projects that once had comfortable timelines became urgent, impossible tasks. I saw Mark, who was usually so energetic, looking gaunt, his eyes bloodshot from working until midnight most nights. "I barely see my family anymore, Alex," he confessed one afternoon, his voice tight with exhaustion. "My kid asked why I never play with him. What am I supposed to say? That my boss thinks I'm a machine?" My own evenings became a blur of takeout food and staring at a screen, my brain buzzing long after I'd finally logged off. The once bright office became a perpetual twilight zone, with lights on late into the night, the only sounds being the weary tapping of keyboards and the low hum of stressed silence. Thorn's optimization was just a fancy word for exploitation, and the unseen cost was our physical and mental health. My heart raced as I wondered if I'd lose everything, my sanity, my relationships, my passion, for this job. The summer brought a particularly nasty incident that cemented Thorn's status as the king of bad bosses. He initiated a new performance-based parking policy. Essentially, the best parking spots, previously available on a first-come, first-served basis, were now reserved for top performers, as determined by Thorn's opaque metrics. The rest of us were relegated to a distant, unpaved lot. It was petty, vindictive, and deeply unfair, especially to folks like David, a quiet, dedicated graphic designer who had a long commute and relied on quick access to his car for doctor's appointments for his elderly mother. David had consistently excellent work, but he wasn't one of Thorn's loud, self-promoting favorites. One rainy morning, David arrived drenched, his umbrella having failed him on the long walk from the new parking lot. Thorn, seeing him, just tutted from his prime, covered spot near the entrance. "Next time, David, try to be more efficient with your weather preparation," he'd said, a cruel glint in his eye. It was almost comical, Thorn's disdain for human comfort, if it wasn't so utterly demoralizing. My blood boiled, the arbitrary nature of it, the open favoritism. It was a constant erosion of trust and respect. As autumn leaves began to fall, so did our last vestiges of hope. Thorn announced a new collaborative hybrid model. On paper, it sounded progressive. Some days in the office, some at home. But in reality, it was a trap. He mandated that specific, critical team meetings would always be held on the same 2 days everyone was required in the office, regardless of project need, effectively forcing all of us into a grueling 5-day week in the office if we wanted to get anything done without being penalized for lack of collaboration. The flexibility we once cherished, which allowed some of us to manage childcare or long commutes, was systematically destroyed. This was the exact ending generous policy the news had hinted at right here in our office, and it gutted people. Sarah, who had a long commute from the suburbs and relied on her 2 remote days to balance family responsibilities, was devastated. "He knows this forces our hand," she whispered, her voice cracking. "He wants us here, under his thumb, always." It wasn't about collaboration. It was about control, about ensuring no one felt they had any say in their own lives. The sheer scale of the resignations, the sudden, united front, hit him like a freight train. He watched, stunned, as a significant portion of his project management and development teams, the backbone of several critical projects, simply walked out. The silence that followed our departure from the conference room, leaving Thorne standing alone amidst the remaining stunned employees, was deafening. It was a silence that spoke volumes, a testament to the unseen cost of his greed and the breaking point of human endurance. The days and weeks that followed were a whirlwind. We learned that several other departments, inspired by our walkout, also started to make noise, some even tendering their own resignations. The company was in chaos. Turns out, Thorne's efficiency metrics didn't account for the value of morale, loyalty, or human capital. Investors, hearing the news of the mass exodus and the resulting project delays, started to pull out. Catalyst Innovations, once a shining beacon, was crumbling under Thorne's iron fist. As for us, it was terrifying, exhilarating, and ultimately liberating. We had taken a leap of faith into the unknown, but we weren't alone. That shared outrage, that solidarity forged in the fires of Thorne's tyranny, turned into something beautiful. Sarah, Mark, David, and I, along with a few others, started meeting up. We talked, we planned, we realized we had a unique opportunity. We had worked incredibly well together, even under immense pressure, and we shared a common vision for a better, more human-centric workplace. Within a few months, we pooled our resources, our knowledge, and our collective frustration and started our own consulting firm, Human Catalyst. We built it on the very principles Thorne had ignored: trust, respect, work-life balance, and genuine appreciation for every team member. It wasn't easy. There were long nights, a lot of ramen, and plenty of moments of doubt. But every time we felt the pressure, we remembered Thorne's cold, dead eyes and found renewed purpose. We chose to be the opposite of him, the antidote to his poison. Catalyst Innovations, under Thorne's continued leadership, eventually folded. He had truly optimized it into oblivion. The unseen cost of his relentless penny pinching and disregard for his employees was the very existence of the company. It was a stark lesson. You can cut corners, you can squeeze every last drop, but eventually you'll find there's nothing left but dust. This story, the story of Mr. Thorne, isn't just a tale of a terrible boss. It's a reminder that our worth isn't determined by how much we can endure, but by what we refuse to tolerate. It's about finding your voice, standing with your colleagues, and recognizing that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is walk away. And in that walking away, you might just find the path to something truly extraordinary, a place where you're not just a cog, but a valued human being. Prioritize your mental health, know your worth, and never let anyone nickel and dime your spirit. Because the cost of staying sometimes is far greater than the cost of leaving.